Sales is the lifeblood of your business. If you don't make sales, you're going to go broke. I'm going to share the biggest lessons that are going to help you close way more sales and ultimately bank more cash for your business, and most importantly, change more lives. The first thing that you need to bear in mind about sales is that one, you're in the business of changing lives. Consider yourself an agent of change, and it's your goal to enable people to make the choices that are the best choices for them. The choices that are ultimately going to improve the quality of their life. The choices that are going to allow them to achieve their goals faster than they could without purchasing your service or your product. First things first is to understand the 3 golden rules of sales. Number 1, every single lead that you come in contact with is inside a comfort zone. They have got a familiar way of living. They have their day-to-day routines, they have their normal beliefs, and they ultimately feel safe in those beliefs. Whether or not those beliefs are actually harming them, making them feel like shit, or ultimately making them feel great. So for example, in the health and fitness world, if you don't like how you look, and let's just say that you call yourself out of shape, you've got bad health, and you label yourself with that identity. In order for you to label yourself healthy, you have got to change your behaviors. That means that you've got to get up off the couch and you've got to go to work, i.e. with your nutrition and also with your diet. That is going to require you to build new skills. That is going to require you to step outside your comfort zone in social circles. So there's a lot of change that has to happen for somebody to get new results. So I want you to understand those very important rules. That every single person that you meet that you're selling to is inside a comfort zone. What's best for people is always outside their comfort zone. So if I want to improve the quality of my health, if I want to improve my business, I've got to step outside what I'm currently doing and step into a new set of behaviors. And I've got to rinse and repeat those behaviors every single day. I've got to start doing stuff that I never did before in order to get the results that I never achieved. And the third rule is that people will fight like crazy to stay inside their comfort zone. And that is where the art of selling really comes into play. Because you are enabling people to see a vision and paint a vision that's clearer than they could ever see themselves, and give them some form of mechanism, solution, pill, or journey or roadmap, which is essentially your program, your consultancy, your expertise, or even your product that gets them out of their current pain and into a new future. If you think that you can help them improve their results, get out of the rut, radically change their results, then it's your duty to let them know. You actually have a moral and ethical responsibility to let them know how good your service is and what it can do for them. That is the real art of sales, is actually having the deep underlying conviction that you are selling something that can unlock new levels of identity, success, growth, happiness for individuals. And what is the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary effect of that? So you really have to have a deep rooted belief in everything behind your service and your product. That's the first most important thing that I want to share with you. The second thing that I want to share with you is more of a marketing lesson, but it feeds into sales. There are 3 big objections. I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, and this isn't going to work for me. So let's first of all start with time. Your content should be framed around how you're never too busy to get better, how a client of yours who was really busy was able to work with you and achieve results. How you work really hard to make sure that your product, your service saves time. How that it only takes a certain amount of time a week. Can you commit to that and build yourself a better future? So think about all the things that you could say to communicate to the marketplace that your service solution saves them time and doesn't require a lot of time. And pre-frame, you're never too busy to get better. Number 2, I can't afford it. And this is where you then break down again using social proof examples of people that said exactly the same thing. You use examples of what people have already tried, what people have already invested, and the standard kind of results that they're going to be getting. And then you talk about how it's going to cost them more not doing it. Talk about what they spend money on that doesn't bring a result. So for example, you'll find that people who want to grow their business or want to improve their health and fitness will say that they can't afford to invest in a course, a mastermind, a mentor, a coach, But at the same time, we'll go and put a handbag that costs a couple of K on a credit card, that will go and put a holiday that costs a couple of K on a credit card, which could be cancelled, which is a total liability, and ultimately could be reigned off. This isn't going to work for me because I'm special. This isn't going to work for me because I don't have time. This isn't going to work for me because I don't have the money. This isn't going to work for me because I don't have the equipment. This isn't going to work for me because I don't have the experience. Let's go with that one. This isn't going to work with me because I don't have the experience and I don't know what I'm doing. In your marketing, when such and such came to work with me, they had no idea on how this worked. However, we've got that covered. Inside our program, course, coaching program, whatever it is, we have actually developed a very simple step-by-step series of marching steps for people that have never done X before. So if I'm listening to that as a beginner and I initially have a doubt that this is going to be out of my depth, and I listen to that, boom, my objection is resolved. And the reason why you want to pre-frame and communicate those objections before someone gets on a call or gets onto a website to look through what you do and consider buying, it just makes the sale a lot easier. The next thing that I want to talk about is the 7 stages of a sales conversation. So the first section is to pre-qualify. So the reason why you want to pre-qualify affordability at the start of the call is really simple. You want to protect your time and you also want to protect their time. And that shows that you respect them. If you get to the end of that qualification and somebody says, no, I don't have the funds, the next question that you ask is, well, do you mind if I ask, can you get access to the funds? If they say no, you go, look, there's no point in us having a conversation with this. I'm going to send you over some details on Loom or on a Google Doc afterwards for you to go through. And you've just saved yourself a massive conversation and dealing with somebody that doesn't have the money. But the key point in that pre-qualification is to ask them, hey, if you like what you hear, feel safe and are excited to work with us, do you have access to 5K to get started? Because if they say yes to that and you get to the end of the call and they say no, you've done something wrong in the sales process because they can afford it. That goes against most common sales practice, but it is one technique that will save you a ton of time and allow you to actually enjoy the sales conversation because you've removed the sting, the surprise that most people are afraid about. Worst thing is getting somebody really excited on a sales call and then at the end of it you hit them with price and they completely deflate. The next stage is then to go into identifying problems. And here's a couple of really useful frames to get people to open up. And the goal is to go deep fast. So tell me, why are we having this call today? Tell me a little bit about your circumstances. How is that impacting you? Okay, tell me a little bit more about that. Let's unpack that. What do you mean by this? And how does that affect your day-to-day? How does that affect your business? Long-term, what kind of effects are you concerned about? Are you worried about? Okay, thank you for sharing that. So really go deep. So when they start saying things like, you know, it's really frustrating, I don't like how I look in the mirror, I'm not happy with the amount of money that we're making, etc. What kind of impact is that having on you personally and the people that matter? Into those 2 frames, into you as an individual and into the people that matter, which might be family, which might be partner, which might be kids, etc. The goal is to ask them questions and allow them to start spilling and then use that against them. A great salesperson will ask the right questions, identify the pain and use it against the prospect to transform their life. And that is where you have to come from a deep level of conviction and integrity because you can't sell somebody something that you know isn't right for them. So that is why finding those pain points, telling them the truth, telling them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear, is actually going to be the best thing for them. The next thing after problems is then to identify goals. When you identify goals, like what are your goals? What are your dreams? Why do you want to achieve that? What are you going to do with the physique whenever you get that? I'd love to know, what are you going to do with the money whenever you get that? Why is that important to you and why is it also important to the people that matter to you? Paint a picture. The goal is to contrast the problems and the pain that they're experiencing with the contrast and the vision for the future life that they dream of having. Ask questions, paint the picture, get inside their head, understand their world. Do not be afraid to ask questions. The next piece is then to qualify. And the reason why you qualify is because you want to ask them questions that you can keep in your arsenal to use later if somebody decides to get scared or afraid of moving forward. So for example, would you have an hour to 2 hours a week to implement the strategies? What is it about me? What is it about our organization that you like the most? What actually stands out the most for you so far? Is this a do it now thing or is this a do it later thing? Very simple sales questions, statements, and phrases. If somebody says to me later on, after I present price, I just don't think I'm going to have the time for this, it's not right now. I'm a little bit confused. You said earlier on that this was a do it now thing, that this was urgent, that you wanted to solve it right now. Has something changed? I'm a little bit confused. So pre-qualification is very important. Once you've gone through all of those phases, the next thing is to then answer them, look, based on everything that you've told me, I've come to the decision that we can help you or we can't help you. At the start of your sales conversation, you might want to add the line, hey, listen, this is a fact-finding call. I want to really get to know you, your problems, your goals, and figure out whether or not you're a great client for us. And then at some point during the call, I'm going to let you know whether it's a yes or a no. So you can rephrase after the qualification and circle back and go, hey, at the start of the call, I said that I was going to fact find, get clear on all the insights and let you know whether or not we can help you, whether or not you're a good fit, you're a good client. And based on everything that you've shared with me, it's like a little bit of a drum roll, a little bit of a crescendo. Yes, you are. Or no, you're not. By the way, one of the best things to grow your confidence and your convictions in sale is to actually say no to people. When you say no to someone, it boosts your conviction, it boosts your confidence. And here's a challenge that a lot of salespeople have, is they get on a sales call, they try to close everything, and they end up closing people that they know aren't good fits. And in the back of their mind, they're going, don't close this. This is going to be a nightmare. This person's going to be horrendous to work with. The best thing that you can do for yourself right there is say, hey, look, listen, I'm getting the vibe that you're maybe not a right fit for this. And I'm going to make a formal decision that we are not going to work together, that we are not going to take you on as a client. That will do wonders for your confidence. Yes, it might annoy someone, but if they're not aligned with you energetically, if they're not aligned with your standards, if they're not aligned with affordability, if they're not aligned with time, if they're not aligned, they're going to become a nightmare client. And guess what? The number one way to wreck your business is to take on the wrong clients. You then move into logistics. So logistics is essentially, hey, here's how it works. Here's what's going to happen after we pull the trigger. Here's what's going to happen after today. You're going to get this, then you're going to get that, then this is going to happen, and here's the way it works. These are the 5 core components that make up a coaching program. Client needs a plan to allow them to stay focused on exactly what they need to stay focused on so that they're not distracted, they're not guessing what to do. They need regular training and coaching so that you're developing the skills for them to make better decisions for the rest of their life around the certain problem that they have. Number 3, they need accountability. Number 4, they need support so that they're never stuck. And number 5, they need to be around a community of people that make them feel safe, that relate to them, that can stretch their vision, that can support them, that can challenge them. Those are the 5 core components of a coaching program. And you want to communicate how the plan, the training, the support, the accountability, and the community are all delivered. Once you've gone through that, you then want to move on to the investment. And I'm going to run through the flow questions to move from section to section after this. So stay tuned. You ask them a very simple question after the logistics. Is it okay that I talk about investment? They'll say yes because they're excited, and they already know because you pre-qualified earlier on, so it's not a shock. Okay, cool. Like I mentioned earlier on, here's the way it works. Lay out your investment. Whenever you lay out the investment, here's a couple of things that you want to ask. Can I just ask what goals are worth to you? Can I ask what you would pay to solve and eradicate and eliminate all the problems that you expressed at the start of the call? If they're a business owner, you want to say, hey, look, listen, this is 100% tax deductible, so it brings your corporation tax down and you get to put the value back into your business or back into yourself. So instead of paying the government, you get to put it back into the business. You also want to communicate, hey, if we do this, do you think that you're going to be able to produce more, do more, achieve more, feel more, experience more? What's that worth to you? And then they're either going to say yes or they're going to say no. But ultimately that should lead to the close or objection handling. So that is the flow of events. You pre-qualify who they are, price point, provided everything's okay, you go deep fast, you find the problems, tell me a little bit about your circumstances, expand, expand, expand. Okay, let's talk about your goals. What would you like to achieve inside 90 days, 180 days, a year if we were to work together? What does that look like? And with both problems and with both goals, what does that mean to you and the people that matter to you? So we always want to go a level outside them. We then want to talk about qualification. Time, is it a do it now, do it later? Do you have X amount of time to implement the system? Why now? What is it about us? Why do you think you make a good client? These are all questions that essentially get them to sell themselves. Then we talk about the logistics and the way that things are delivered, the way things happen, the order, the sequence, the timescales. We paint clarity, what's going to happen immediately after they join. We then talk about investment, and then we deal with objection. Now, I want to talk about the fourth point here, which is flow questions in between moving from problems to goals to logistics to closing, etc. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. And you'll hear things like awkward pauses and all this kind of stuff. Here are some of the best questions that you can ask to move between layers of a sales conversation. What stands out for you the most? Is everything look okay? Does everything feel comfortable so far? Are you sure? What stands out for you the most? Where would you like to go from here? So it is soft questions that get them to open up. Where would you like to go from here? Well, tell me a little bit more about how it works. Where would you like to go from here? Well, how can I get started? How much does it cost? Where would you like to go from here? Well, can I sign up today? So instead of the awkward pauses of back and forth and waiting and awkward silence, which is deafening, you can use beautiful flow questions to move things forward. Inside your sales conversation, you're going to hear two words, and this is really important when you're reviewing your sales calls for both yourself and also for you. Sales calls, sales conversations, sales events. There are two words that you want to look out for. And the two most important words in sales. Sounds really simplistic, but listen to this. If I say I'm scratching my head. I am riddled with uncertainty. If I say the word in a sales conversation, I've just had a paradigm shift. When all you were seeing is black and now you see white and black and you see gray. So it's total awareness. Represents hope. Represents excitement. Represents the space that was never there before. Represents expansive thinking, abundant thinking. So you want to unlock as many A's throughout the conversation as possible. Just like whenever you're coaching somebody and you tell them something that they never knew before and you unlock a new level in them. So whenever I go, you've got me. Especially whenever I'm dealing with objections. You're probably right. Let's do it anyways. Let's go. So keep that in mind. If you're reviewing your sales calls, sales conversations, sales workshops, look out for those words. And in your prospects, and most likely with you, because you're not really going to say that much. The last thing that I want to talk about is how to challenge people without sounding like a dick, without sounding awkward. So here's a couple of, I would rather give you the tactical insights on this because it's important. Who taught you to think that way? Can I encourage you to think differently? Do you mind if I ask a few more questions about that to give me a clearer understanding? Do you think long-term that's going to work for you? Based on the goals that you shared with me at the very start of this conversation, do you think the way you're approaching things is the best way to do it? Why are you not open to change? Would you be open to change? What do you think's holding you back? Do you think if you keep on doing the same thing, anything's going to change? So these are beautiful questions that get people to open up and again, start to sell themselves. When you're always firing words down people's throats and telling them and trying to fix them and trying to speak more than you are listen, then you end up just sounding like a barking dog. People get scared, they disconnect and they go away. Your ultimate goal is to enable people on that sales call to have a paradigm shift, realize that all their fears are holding them back. They're staying stuck in a comfort zone because it feels comfortable. And it is your goal to enable them to develop the courage to step into a new set of behaviors that are going to allow them to achieve life-changing results. So those are a bunch of really useful questions to challenge thinking. The last lesson that I want to share on sales is very simple. And no matter how good you are, you still need to do this. You must have a process that you go through anytime that you have a sales conversation, a sales workshop, or back-to-back sales calls that gives you deep, undenying belief that what you're about to sell can change lives. And there's two challenges that I encounter with salespeople. I coach corporate sales teams all over the world. I coach high-ticket coaches all over the world. And I meet two types of people. Ones that are scared to sell and ones that have sold so much that they're desensitized to it. And when you desensitize to selling, you end up just like being an order taker. You say whatever it takes to get the deal over the line, but you forget the very reason why you got into sales. And if you're scared, then you're actually scared to offend somebody because you think that when you go hard on them, that you're actually being rude. Inside those two schools of thought, whenever you read through testimonials, whenever you look at your early work, this is the most important, by the way, is your early work. Do you remember the first time that a client came to you and said, "You've changed my life"? Do you remember when somebody reached out to you and said, "Hey, I'm really glad that I made that decision. I'm really glad that you were firm with me"? You need to have some form of folder on your phone, on your computer, that has all the early stuff in your career. You also as well are wise to have pictures of your goals, pictures of your family, pictures of people that matter to you inside that as well, especially if you're relying on sales for your revenue or your income. Because it, one, makes you realize that what I'm doing is good work. Two, I'm doing this good work for a greater good. So you must have a process that gets you in state. Before you do sales calls, do not be browsing social media, flicking around, dealing with challenges, dealing with problems. Have white space to get your head in gear. And I can rest assure you that you will perform better. And in closing, review your sales calls, watch it back. When you watch something back in the third person, you will see this body language. You will see eyes rolling. You will see people distracted. Heck, if you're doing Zoom, you might even see somebody's spouse knocking the door. I remember one time when I was closing a high ticket sale and I was dealing with objections with a guy that was really struggling in business, really wanted to do it, but was afraid. And his partner was in the background peeping through the door going, "Don't do it, don't do it." And he had me in one ear, the partner in another ear, and it was kind of awkward. So I said, "Hey, I think your partner's at the door. I think she doesn't want you to do it. Can you bring her in and we'll sit her down and we'll go through everything." And that actually led to the sale. And by the way, quick little objection handling for anybody that's got a spouse. I need to ask my wife, can I just ask, do you see value in everything that I've shared? Do you think this can help you hit your goals? Yes. Curious, what about if your wife says no? What about if your husband says no? What will you do? Listen, I want to tell you the truth. This is for you. Are you going to become a better husband or a better mother or a better father, X, Y, and Z, if you do this? Then I think it's about time that you give yourself permission to go after what you want in life and put yourself first. So when you're selling, encouraging people, being that buddy around the shoulder, telling them what to do is critical. That firm friend that keeps them accountable, not the buddy like, "Okay, cool, you go and think about it," whatever. You have to try. And if after multiple attempts they don't do it, it's really simple. Listen, I want to leave you with everything. I'm going to check back in with you in 30 days and see if anything's changed. We're committed to helping you, but you've got to help yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's got to come from you. Never, ever, ever over-attach yourself to the sale. Never get disappointed with the sale. Believe it or not, sometimes whenever you let somebody go like that and they go and they haven't been forced into a corner, it works far better than saying, "Hey, guilt trip, guilt trip, guilt trip." Never guilt trip anybody into a sale. Why? Because they will churn, they will ask for a refund, they will get buyer's remorse, and they will be horrendous clients. Remember the golden rule. You've got to enable people to want to go outside their comfort zone to access a new life. Study your product, know it well, know it inside out, and sell the living shit out of it. Comment below if this has been useful. Let me know your biggest takeaway, and don't forget to click like and subscribe.